Afternoon, everybody. My name is Tammy Richter, and I'm with Informativ. We are a lead generation, leading credit and compliance lead enrichment technology company, Credit Bureau Connection, Dealer Safeguard Solutions, and Credit Driver. We launched our new platform last year at NADA, but we've been working with dealers for decades, bringing all of our platforms together into one. So the thing about our platform is different is we are the only proactive credit and compliance company from lead to sale. I talk with my hands, so we gotta be careful here. I've been with Informative for 5 years, and I've played in different roles, implementations. I've done compliance reviews, sales, and customer retention. So what I'd like to do is introduce our guest today. So Jesse, if you would tell us, you're with Parks Automotive Group, and how many locations where you guys are located, how many rooftops, and what your responsibilities are.
Thank you, Tammy. So we are Parks Automotive Group. We're based out of, we're based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We do have some stores in South Carolina as well, in Virginia. We have 11 stores, 14 brands, mostly domestic, with some luxury brands in there as well, but mostly out of the Carolinas.
Very nice, great. And Chris, you are with Nelson Auto Group. If you could tell us also where you guys are located and how many rooftops and your responsibilities.
We are Nielsen Automotive Group. We are out of New Jersey. We are a total of 12 rooftops, mostly domestic, but we have some foreign as well. And at the dealership, I oversee a couple of our stores, our Hyundai store and our Kia store.
Okay, great, thank you. Jimmy, welcome. Likewise for you, with Pohanka Automotive Group. And how many rooftops you have, what your role is with the company?
My name's Jimmy Robinson. I'm the CFO for Pohanka Automotive Group. Our chairman is the outgoing chairman, Jeff Pohanka of NADA. We have 21 stores. We're based out of Northern Virginia, the Washington, D.C. area, Maryland, and one in Houston, Texas.
Great. And we have Doug. Doug, you founded Dealer Safeguard.
There you go.
I founded Dealer Safeguard Solutions in 2009 to solve a pretty general problem across the industry, which is the disconnect between what dealers want, which is sell more cars, make more money, and save more money, take care of customers, and what the FTC mandates, which is lots of compliance laws. And in 2009, it was 2 pages. In June of this year, it grew to 145 pages. And in spite of training, in spite of compliance audits, the disconnect still exists today. And we built a platform to eliminate that gap. I'll start with the first question, because we've been around since 2009. All of these organizations were in existence long before they contracted to do business with us. So I'd like to ask each of the panelists if they could share their experiences, because they had compliance programs and training and audits before we arrived, and just kind of do a before and after comparison on before Informative got in, what was the world of compliance like, and what's it like today.
For us, there's been a lot more awareness around compliance and fraud. Obviously, in the past 2 years, it's become a very known problem for the dealers. So we really didn't have a lot of, I would say, safety measures in place to prevent fraud, and at the same time to make sure that our sales team were properly doing the steps to the sale, but that we're following within compliance. So prior to teaming up with Informative, we really didn't have a solid process in place. But since utilizing the tool, the resources, the team, the services, there's been a lot more improvement with our compliance piece and a lot more awareness.
Really having those guardrails in place to enforce those procedures.
Well, at the end of the day, it's all about accountability. So there's a lot of accountability, making sure that we do things right and protect our customers' information as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. And Chris?
Our group has always been big on compliance. Our dealer principal sits on the board for NJ Car, which oversees compliance and how we do business. But it could always be inconsistent, and that was something that we had issues with in the past. We would do everything that we knew we could do, but we didn't have those things that could, the extra safety net to help make sure that we were doing things properly. And then since we've implemented our employees, we have a seamless process. They come in, they're trained. This is how we do everything. It's paperless. We don't have any inconsistencies anymore, and business just goes very well. And also with several stores, we can take an employee from one store, move them to the other store, and it's a seamless transition.
Perfect.
I'd like to add to that. Since implementing Informative, it's actually helping improve the amount of time the customers are at the store, because it's helped our sales process. Because now our sales team is trained, and they're using the tool to make sure that we have all the right information prior to walking up to the desk and getting figures. But it also helps with, when you scan the driver license, we get a lot of that information right off the bat.
Right up front.
Yeah.
Great, great. So having that enforced compliance in place that you have to have has not slowed your process, it's actually speeded up the process. Great. Jimmy?
And from the CFO standpoint, of course, I'm the guy that's always over the compliance. The consistency is what we're all striving for. We all want to get better. We all want to be consistent. The software has helped us tremendously with that, which streamlines funding, streamlines deal costing, everything in accounting. It also helps when you're consistent on, I'm over insurance, I'm over, risk management, all of that, the audits, external and internal audits. So it's brought a consistency to a deal package. It's complete. It's really saved us a lot of time and money.
So I think everybody in this room understands when the world changed with the pandemic and the transactions became much more extended and virtual than they were before, right? So simple things like how we collected paperwork when the consumer was in the showroom every time, to how we gather information from the customer that's no longer in front of us. So I'd like to ask the crew, what have you seen as an impact as far as collecting things like STIPs, validating driver's licenses remotely, and how's that done in a secure way today versus how it might have been done previously?
Well, for us, it's you really don't realize how many fraud issues you have until you have a technology in place. We like to think that we do our best to prevent that kind of information, but there's so much activity these days that it's overwhelming to the dealers that we're just not that smart to figure out these kind of frauds that are happening.
So our software helps you
So the
there,
software
right?
helps. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, we had a customer walk in the dealership, had a driver license, and to us, it was a perfect driver license. There's no way. I mean, you can never tell that it was a fake ID or a fake driver license. But luckily for us, we ran it through the Informative, scanned it, and everything on the driver license was accurate. Okay, driver license number, date of birth, address, his blood type, you name it. And the only thing that was wrong with that was the picture. It wasn't him. So it kind of helped us not deliver a demon.
Right, right.
Which, we all know what kind of money that
Right.
car brings. But just having that fraud protection is bringing a lot more accountability, making sure that we deliver cars.
Helps you sleep a little better at
Yeah,
night,
it does.
right?
Absolutely.
Right. And Chris, with you?
Jesse pretty much covered everything, but having the ability to scan a license and know right up front if there's going to be any kind of issue, it's changed the way that we can do business. I can be at one store, know one of my salesmen scanned in a bad driver's license, and we can stop it right there. And sometimes it's an expired driver's license and they have their other one, so it's good to have that extra net.
Absolutely. And with the three groups here having multiple locations, we have that built-in feature where if they scan a license, a fraud license at your store, it's not only going to notify you and your managers, it can notify the other 10, 11 rooftops, so everybody's aware.
We actually use that consistently.
Very good.
Aside from being a compliance tool, it also helps streamline a lot of our sales process when you have multiple rooftops, because the road to the sale is always going to be the same. The salesperson knows that regardless of what store you're at, what location you're at, that you've got to follow the process to make sure that we're checking compliance and we're checking the fraud. But for anybody that has multiple rooftop, it also helps with streamlining a lot of your processes across the
Absolutely.
organization.
So Jimmy, you with your locations and that topic?
So I've been at Pohanka for 5 years. So I kind of cheated when I got there because I'd used DSGSS where I came from before, where we had 47 locations. So, I knew the value of it, both from, not that you ever waste time working a car deal, but if you know up front that you've got a problem, it streamlines everybody's efficiency within the store. Also, everybody's got a cell phone, everybody's got computers, everybody's got, if you're having to collect steps from a subprime customer, where are those documents going before this software? Is it going to your salesperson's personal cell phone? Is it going to their personal email where you can't have any kind of accountability over those items? Now with the software, they can directly upload into there. You have control of it. You can safeguard those items. It's just really a deal maker. Also, the first store we put it in Texas a few years ago, we had 6 fraudulent car sales, based upon fake IDs. Before we put the software in, we wasted a lot of time and money chasing the car, doing damage control, working with insurance, which is painful, on claims. We put it in, the next 12 months we had 0. So, it really makes a difference in the efficiency of the store.
Right. Yeah. So the 5,000 plus fake IDs we've had?
Yeah, we did an analysis at the end of 23 just to see what kind of momentum there was with fraud. And I'd love to say we have 17,000 dealers as clients, but we don't, maybe a couple thousand. But in 2023, we processed and caught just over 5,000 fake identities within our client base, which, pick a number, $30,000 a car, but that's $150 million in potential financial pain, not to talk about what Jimmy just mentioned, which is all the brain damage trying to get those cars back. So, and as Tammy said, it does in a very proactive way. It notifies the stakeholders that you want to be notified in the dealership immediately that you've either in store or remotely collected a fake ID, so that you can prohibit that up front rather than chase it down after the fact.
Right. So another topic we're going to talk about is soft pulls. They have a lot of benefit to cutting your compliance risk because you have less private information that you're getting from the customer up front, which reduces you as a dealer, your compliance obligations. I know your store at Parks, you guys are utilizing the soft pulls. So do you want to expand upon that?
Yeah, a couple things about that is from a expense perspective, which is the biggest one,
Right.
why we are using Informativ. Sales managers typically have, in most cases, will take the path of least resistance and just pull all 3 credit bureaus.
Click.
And it's easy at a click of a button to have hard inquiries on the customer. That's and we know that the expense that comes with hard pulls. With Informativ, what is really created a culture where we have to use the soft credit, right?
Right, because we have those guardrails in place
Yes.
where they pull the soft pull first. When they have a deal, then they pull the hard pull.
Right. So what happens is the sales managers become more efficient with understanding the credit bureau, but most importantly, utilizing the relationships that they have with the lenders to know where they're going to submit that deal prior to having a hard pull on the customer.
Right.
Which at the same time, on the other hand, by limiting the amount of hard pulls that you have, from a CFO perspective, who's constantly looking at invoices and expenses on a monthly basis, it's significantly an expense reduction. And I'll give you an estimate. When we switched over to Informative from our previous vendor, this year we estimate that we'll save about $200,000 in savings just from not utilizing the hard pulls.
Right. I remember doing
Yeah.
that cost analysis.
Yes, and it's true, and that's a fact. So
Yes, yes. So, Doug, do you want to expand upon a little bit more here on some of the frictions?
Sure. So, the one side of the equation is what was just discussed, which is the financial impact on the dealer. The other side of the equation, when you think about getting more customers to say yes and improving that process, is a pre-qual is less friction with the customer. I'm not asking for their social until much later in the process. I get the same information back. I reduce some of my compliance obligations because I'm not collecting that private information as early in the showroom as I did with the 30-year model that we used before that. I also don't have to generate those risk-based pricing letters until I do a hard pull. So there's a win for the consumer. It lowers the bar. It gives the dealer a competitive advantage because I can now talk to a consumer and say, hey, unlike the other 5 dealers you may have visited before you came here that ran your credit today, we're not going to do a hard pull. We're going to protect your credit when you're ready to say yes. So we're going to do a pre-qual. We're going to relieve that friction, streamline the process, make it faster at the desk, and still get all the same accomplishments done before we get to the finish line in a much, much more efficient manner.
I'll point out one thing to that is on the soft pulls, oftentimes the dealer thinks of the old school. With a soft pull, they would get very limited information, and our soft pulls literally match the hard pull. So whatever model you want, V8, V9, we're going to set it up, and you're going to see it up front on the soft pull, and it's going to match on the hard pull. So now let's talk about training. So training is temporary. We have some turnover every now and again, right, in the dealership. So Doug, you've been doing this for more than a decade, as we know, training people. What do you see the ongoing challenges with that?
Well, it's the same challenges that existed in 2009 when I started the company, which is we've all made the investment in time, people, training, systems to try and create that consistent environment. But we have turnover, we have temptation, we have training. Turnover is a fact of life. We all deal with it, right? And at the end of the day, it comes down to policy evaporation. The further away we get from that event, that training, that compliance review, the further away we get from those consistencies, which creates that gap that I talked about at the beginning. And dealers have been fighting it for 15, 20 years. The bad news is when it started, the guidelines were 2 pages. The worst news is now they're 145 pages. And they call out very specific obligations around physical, administrative, and technical requirements that we have, that we're supposed to do. People, processes, platform, policies. And the one thing that I can't vision in my brain in a showroom is consistency. Every showroom is different on a Monday morning than it is on a Saturday afternoon. It's different at the beginning of the month than it is at the end of the month. And we've invested in technology for things like key machines and to manage a $350 key fob because we can't get a salesperson to bring it back and put it where they got it. Right. We've got 100+ pages of obligations we're allowing our salespeople, our desk managers, and our F&I folks to do, and there's been very little investment in the glue to hold it all together, which is what these dealers have luckily taken advantage of, and we're happy to have them as customers.
All right. So Chris, with your store, Nielsen Auto Group, how is your process on the training and
We have a unified process for everything. We do process manuals, so a new employee comes, regardless of their position, we have it, here's everything, here's how you do your role. And we've now put your platform into our process manual, so we train from day one. I lean on my veterans who do it every day to show the new people how to do it, make sure they have the software on their phone, and so it's a seamless transition at all of our stores.
And if a salesperson gives you any pushback on your process, how do you
free to
handle
leave.
that? They're free to leave. Okay, good. All right, I like that. And Jesse, with you?
very similar to to what he had just mentioned. I mean, the accountability with compliance, there just can't be any shortcuts. It just, when the shortcuts, you put a dealer in a very vulnerable position which we don't want to be in. So, the training piece is always vital, and this has to be done consistent. But then as far as the expectations and making sure that the process is being followed, that's up to the management team too.
Right. Jimmy, you want to add anything?
Yeah, he just said the key word. With consistency comes, there's expectations, and that makes your dealership run smoother. If the sales associate understands the expectations that are put on them, and the desk has the same expectations, then the customer experience should be better. It's very clear, and this, the software helps promote that level of confidence in everybody.
Right. All right. So we have a little extra time. So Doug, do you want to expand upon a few other items and maybe ask some more questions back and forth?
My 2 cents would probably be, regardless of whether you believe it or not, obviously compliance is not going away. The latest, thing we'd hit with is the CARS rule. So the deck's not stacked in our favor. What excites me the most about the space is when you have clients like this that make the commitment, whether it's with our platform or some other way to do it. We all need to make the commitment to make sure that we have a process in place that's defensible, consistent. We can stand up if we're getting a problem. And if you can put the guardrails up to keep your sales team on the field in bounds, you eliminate 95% of the problems before they happen, which puts you, the dealer, in a much more defensible position if you get caught on the carpet. It's much easier to say we have a bad Apple employee or not a bad Orchard dealership if I can demonstrate some of those things.
Perfect. So that's that being proactive versus reactive, right? All of the things that we discussed that are enforceable, guardrails put in place, people can't step out of bounds. And if they want to try to step out, they aren't going to work there, right? Right. Okay. So thank you, everyone, for joining the panel. I appreciate it. Jesse, Chris, Jimmy, and Doug, thank you very much. I think that's it. Anybody want to add anything? Yes, ma'am. Dead deals. How do you handle your dead deals? Do you have to go find them in a big stack of boxes, or where are your dead deals? In your digital deal jacket? Stored for forensics? With everything there, and they're housed there indefinitely, basically.
I'll say one more thing about Informative. We've got audits that we have a partnership with GVO3, and they do dealer audits, compliance, HR, red flags. Since putting all this awareness around compliance and the training with Informative and implementing the process and the tools, our audit grade was in the 50s. In the past 60, 90 days, they're outstanding.
Nice.
So
Outstanding
it's made a big
is
difference,
nice.
yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions while we're here? Anybody else? We do have a booth here, booth 4721 in the West Wing. We would love to have you come over. We will walk you through the demo, let you see, touch, feel the product. And thank you for joining, everybody. Thank you.